So here we have the Lark's nest suspension. It starts hanging on the wall here, comes down the arm steel. Then we have our toggle with the Lark's head in it, and the suspension carries over. We have the UCR portion along the structural ridgeline till we get to the other end where we have the UCR, then the Lark's head toggle and suspended up to the wall. The hammock itself is suspended from loops that go over the toggle, and what you see here is just the excess, we'll call it the tree line, since it's the line that actually goes up, forms the Lark's head, goes back to the tree. For reference purposes, we'll be calling this the structural ridge line. It's the portion that has the UCR on both ends, and then the tail comes off the structural ridge line and gets captured underneath the Lark's head between the toggle and the rope. So here's the working portion of the Lark's nest suspension system. It's formed from three lines, two tree lines, and the ridge line, structural ridge line. And the structural ridge line, I'm showing here in my hand, comes up to and forms the sheath, constrictor sheath of the UCR that runs out. And then we have the tail of the UCR. I'll just pull it out here. The tail of the UCR, which is part of the structural ridgeline portion, that gets captured underneath the Lark's head knot, and function of that, and I can just pull that up, and so that locks and holds in place the sheath. The tree line, which you have one on each side, comes down, forms the Lark's head around the toggle, comes down through here, and the tension at this point is still on the tree line. It's not actually on this tail portion. There's only enough tension there to actually stop that from slipping. That goes through and then buries through the constrictor and comes out at the end here with the excess line. So that's the UCR, and we'll take a step back and just talk about spikes and toggles and why we're using the Lark's head. So let's remove this out of here, and just for ease of showing, I'm going to just use a loose toggle. So the easiest way, most people say, well, why not just form your Lark's head, why not form your marlin spike just simply formed. It's reliable, people use it all the time, and now you're tied off and you're very secure. Well, the problem I had with the spike was adjusting it, or trying to get it adjusted. I've got better over time at setting it in the right place, but initially I had a lot of problems in setting it, and when I did, sometimes when I was trying to adjust it, I'd managed to get the knot moved around to the back so that it collapsed on itself. And then when I actually removed the toggle, I was left with this tight knot that took a bit of a snap to actually release. So I was looking for something that would give me the same functionality of the spike, because the marlin spike works very nicely, but was adjustable. And that's where I started using the Lark's head. Just as easy to tie. Your fingers through, and then put your toggle through. And ties nicely. The problem is that it can slide, as we see in there, which isn't too useful for a suspension system. So, nice thing is it's adjustable. It's also easy to set where you want it initially, because you can just lock your fingers at the point you want it, and then simply, hold where you want this to be, and then just create your spike and adjust it to that point. So you can adjust it before and after the toggle's on, or the toggle's in place. But, as I said, it moves. So, what do we do, or how do we stop that happening? Well, the solution is very simple. On the surface, if you put tension, or carry the tension through around the toggle and down into the line, then your toggle is going to form and it's going to stay. It's not going to move. But that means you actually have to have tension on this part of the line. So you have to have tension above, coming from the tree, going around the toggle, and then also going down the rest of the line. And that's where the UCR comes in place. Because the UCR allows you to keep that tension on the line. So, tension comes down. It now gets transferred to the structural ridge line through the UCR. Problem with all UCRs, of course, is that you have to secure this end so that it doesn't collapse and slip. And the solution here is within the Larks head itself. So what we can do is I'm going to remove this one out. Within the tail of the UCR on the structural ridge line, we can actually capture a toggle. So hopefully we can see this. I can tie my toggle with the Larks head and then feed in the ropes end through. I can now set my toggle. You see here I've got the loose part of the UCR, the tail. I've got tension coming down, and then I've captured the tail of the UCR under the line. And in fact, what I need to do now is just adjust how long I want to go. And just for the demonstration purpose, I'm going to say I want to come down to here. I can easily just pull through this portion until I get to where I want to be on my line. And now you see the tension is coming through onto here. That's because I don't have much weight on the structural line at the moment. I have this here, so all I need to do at this point is actually take that and with the other end of the UCR, just move it up to the point and then milk it. So now I've got it set where I want it at the mark. I've got my Larks head locked in place, and I'm ready to hang. Just tidy that through. I'm ready to hang, and if I need to, even though I put some tension on here, I can actually come back and actually use the rope that's come through here, the tail end, to just whittle out a little bit, to loosen up the knot a little bit, and then I can actually go through and I can still adjust where I come down tighter on this one now, or I drop the height down. So, or I can go higher if I wanted to raise it up. I'm trying to stay in camera here. So I can run this up. And set set my set up higher on there, and then obviously I need to milk my UCR cable, so now I'm at 3 instead of 2. So it's adjustable before and after I've made my loops. So that's why I'm using the Larks head, and because I'm using the Larks head, I need the UCR to create tension on the tree line after the toggle. Whereas if I had a marlin spike, I wouldn't need to have tension on the line. But then I wouldn't have the adjustability either.